Hello, welcome to this DCS A-18C tutorial video. Today we will cover the ACM air combat modes of your airplane. The air combat modes are utilized when you are within 10 miles of a target, and utilizing your radar might be too cumbersome to lock them up quickly, because within 10 miles you need to lock them and fire and then evade before they can launch on you. The first air combat mode is accessed from your air-to-air radar page with its sensor of interest by pressing sensor control switch up. This changes the HUD symbology and our helmet symbology. You will now see a small dotted circle and HACQ in the lower right. This air combat mode is a Boresight mode that can be utilized within 10 miles of a target. You can see as I move this dotted circle around, the attack radar is moving up and down, left and right with my helmet. All I need to do to lock the target within 10 miles is put him within the dotted circle. Easy as that. No need to fuss with the radar. To unlock him, double tap your nose wheel steering button and it will kick you out of the air combat mode. To get back in, Boresight, sensor control switch up. Put him in the dotted circle, and he's locked. If the target is further than 10 miles, and you still wish to use the Boresight mode, instead of doing a short press up with the sensor control switch, where you will see HACQ, you can do a long press up 1 or 2 seconds and then release, and you will see LHAQ. That is for a long acquisition used within 40 miles. Same thing applies. All you need to do is put them within the dotted circle to lock them. You will notice when you look too far, the dotted circle will start to blink, and that is telling you you are looking outside the ability of your radar to turn. So you can use this to about here. Whereas with your sidewinders, you could use the heat source to lock to maybe about here, as you saw in the last video. An easy way to remember this is L for long, used within 40 miles. And he's locked up just by putting him in the circle. One thing to note with all of these air combat modes, you can only lock and engage one target at a time. So if I locked this target and fired my AMRAAM, I would have to wait for it to go active before I broke the lock or switched to another target. This is meant for prioritizing a target, not for engaging multiple targets like our TWS radar. To access the next air combat mode, we will press up to access HACQ and then press left on the sensor control switch, and we will see WACQ. This is a wide angle air combat mode. So within 10 miles, it will search a rectangular box in front of our plane, just scanning left and right. So let's go ahead and try that here. There we go, it locked it up. I will unlock, go back to that air combat mode, up, left, and it's scanning left and right in the orientation of this rectangle you see in the lower right. A little close. We'll try and let him get some distance and demonstrate that again. And it locked him up because it was doing the horizontal scan. The next air combat mode is accessed in a very similar way. We will press up from our regular TWS to HACQ Boresight, left to WACQ wide angle acquisition, and then down on sensor control switch. And this will give us a vertical acquisition mode, shown by these two sets of dotted lines. This will force our radar to look for any targets between these two lines, extending up above our HUD and down below our cockpit. This is useful in a dogfight if you can't get a good lock or you can't move your head, because you could be pulling onto a target, just like this, and as soon as they're within those lines, it will lock them up. Let's try that again. Unlock, HACQ, WACQ, vertical acquisition. I'm just going to put him right in between those lines, locked up. Remember, all of these modes are only used within 10 miles. The long press forward, LHAQ, is used within 40 miles. The final mode I will show you is using and unique to the 9X Sidewinder. This mode is only available with the 9X Sidewinder equipped. So I will go ahead and equip my 9X. I will press up to get into HACQ. Can only be used from HACQ. And then I will immediately press down on my sensor control switch, not depress, but the downward direction. And now we see it has changed to up look. Let's do that again. Double tap nose wheel steering to exit the air combat mode. Up or HACQ, pressing aft, back, or down, however you want to describe it. And now we're in up look. And you see the Sidewinder has now pinned itself to the top. This up look is used for shots where you are looking up. So generally, if you're in a high turn fight and you have an enemy aircraft out here off the top of your aircraft, or even above you, you see it starts blinking when you're looking too far up, we can just simply look up towards the aircraft, lock it, and fire, and it will snake up because we use the up look. It can get you a little bit extra range as far as looking around with your cockpit. Generally, if you're using your Sidewinder and the target is within your plane, something like this, you don't need to use the uplook. In fact, you can't use the uplook. But if the target is far above your plane, we will use the uplook mode, up and then down, in order to be able to fire essentially straight up. I can no longer demonstrate that here because I no longer have Sidewinders on my plane. That covers all of the ACM modes and how to access them and how to use them. There is one thing you need to know as far as how the radar signature works between the modes. So when you utilize TWS and you lock a target, the target does not get an indication that you are locking them. This is what we would call a soft lock. The only indication they would get that they are being locked is after we fire a missile and it goes active. When the missile goes active, they will get a missile warning. similar to you saw in the EW and harm videos. Those would be the long solid lines. If we just had them locked and we did not have an active missile going towards them, we would just look like a normal EW contact with these short solid lines. They would have no idea that we've locked or even fired on them until the missile goes active. If we utilize one of these air combat modes, in this case, the long Boresight acquisition mode, they would get an immediate warning that we are locking and potentially firing on them with a long solid line, as an example in the 18. So, if you're trying to be sneaky about your shots, use your radar. If you need to engage one target quickly, use the air combat modes if you are within parameters. An easy way to see what your air combat modes are doing is to reference your air-to-air radar. In Boresight, short range HACQ, you see it shows 10 miles in the upper right, and it follows our head, both up and down with the caret, and left and right with the angle sweep. We switch to long. It is now 40 miles in the upper right. If we switch to wide, we now see it is doing a very small vertical scan and a wide scan in the shape of this box out the front of our plane. If we go to vertical, we see it is doing a huge vertical scan, and it's just between those small lines. Thanks for watching.